Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Dr. James Broomall, joined by Matt Borders. The rain now is coming down quite steadily, so we've taken refuge in a late 19th century corn crib. But nonetheless, Matt's going to orient us at the Thomas farm, and although the weather might obscure it, we have a view shed of the Worthington where we were just at. And this is another one of those interesting cultural resource challenges where on the one hand, we have a highway that runs through the heart of the battlefield,
Yep.
but the resource itself has been managed in such a way as to create a sight line that very effectively links the battlefield that is disconnected because of a highway system.
Exactly.
So you're doing the best you can.
Exactly right.
But with that, I'm again going to step off stage here, and we'll keep ourselves situated underneath the roof. So please don't go too far. Keep yourself dry, and I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Appreciate it, Jim. Now, we are here on Thomas Farm. Today, the Thomas Farm is the administrative headquarters for Monocacy National Battlefield. But in 1864, it was the home of Christian Kiefer Thomas and his family. Now, Christian Kiefer Thomas is a large landowner at the time. He owns a good chunk of what was originally the Araby land grant down here that was originally developed by Delaplane in the 1830s. His home, the Thomas Farm, is actually going to be built in the first part of the home was built in the late 18th century, and it would continue to be added on through the 19th century. Now, Christian Kiefer Thomas, he would purchase this farm and move out here in the early days of the American Civil War. And the story goes he was actually trying to escape the sectionalism and the violence of Baltimore when he moved his family out here. Of course, unbeknownst to him, he would be in the midst of not only the 1864 fight here at Monocacy, but he would have armies moving across his property throughout 1862, 1863, and then, of course, the fight in 1864. Now, to bring us up to that battle, we have had, over at the Worthington farm in the distance, Confederate cavalry has attacked 3 times off the Worthington property and has been repulsed here around the Thomas farm. We've got some barn swallows joining us for this conversation. We now have Confederate infantry, 3,500 men, a small division under the command of John Brown Gordon, lined up along the toe of Brooks Hill and are moving this direction. Leading off this series of attacks would be Brigadier General Clement Evans and his Georgia Brigade. 3 times these Georgia troops, the largest brigade in Gordon's division, would slam into the Union line, and 3 times it would be knocked back. In the process of these attacks, Clement Evans himself would be twice hit. Once in the left arm, once in his side. That shot to the side would actually hit his sewing kit and blast a number of needles into his body that he would be picking out for the rest of his life. Clement Evans is removed from the field, but these hammer blow strikes against the Union line have been exactly what John Brown Gordon has been looking for, because it has forced the Union line to extend itself, and more specifically to move troops from their right flank down here to the Union left, thinning out the Union line of battle, weakening the Union line of battle in its center and on its right. Gordon would now unleash York's Louisiana Brigade into the Union center, right out here in these fields behind me, and then off in the distance to our north, closer to the Monocacy River, General Terry's Virginia Brigade would also engage with the Federal line, forcing this line of battle to begin to fall back through the Thomas Farm property. These attacks begin at around 3:30 in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, they are going to begin to be driven across the Thomas Farm property back to what is today Araby Church Road. Araby Church Road in 1864 was part of the Georgetown Turnpike, and it would be along Araby Church Road that Federal forces would rally and hunker down behind the embankments of that road and hold the line for another hour. This is one of the fascinating aspects of the Battle of Monocacy, because at the beginning of the day, we saw those small unit tactics, the skirmishers, the sharpshooters being utilized. We have now seen dismounted cavalry attack multiple times, and now the classic heavy lines of battle, shoulder to shoulder, have gone in and have been fighting across these fields here at Thomas Farm. And just to bring things up to the modern era of fighting in 1864, we now have soldiers hunkered down behind that embankment, almost like a trench. The sort of fighting that many of these 6th Corps soldiers would have been somewhat used to due to the siege down there at Petersburg, where they had been pulled from. Now, the Federal line along Araby Church Road, again, that was part of the Georgetown Pike, that's going to hold for about an hour, from around 4 to about 5 o'clock in the evening. By 4:30, the Baltimore Light Artillery, the only battery of artillery, 6 guns, rifled pieces, that is with the Union Army, will have expended all their long-range ordnance, and they are going to be ordered off the field. By 5, the Confederate line is beginning to outstretch the Federal position on both of its flanks and is starting to wrap around them. Confederate soldiers, the old Stonewall Brigade specifically, would succeed in getting down to the Monocacy River and then attacking up the embankments into the very flank of the Union line off here to the north of us. Just behind you guys, along what is today Baker Valley Road, Confederate infantry under Gordon, again, would be slowly beginning to move around the southern flank of that Union line. So by 5 o'clock, it is time to go, and General Wallace will order his forces to begin to fall back. They would fall back over the, what is today 355, into the Gambrill property, where the Federal retreat would really begin. Now, immediately behind me here at the Thomas Farm is what's known as the tenant house. This structure was likely used as the housing for enslaved individuals while Christian Kiefer Thomas and his family lived here during the 1860s, during the American Civil War. During the Battle of Monocacy, the enslaved population for the Thomas Farm, Thomas's family, himself, and about a dozen hunting dogs are all in the basement of the main house immediately behind me. The house today is used as the administrative headquarters for Monocacy National Battlefield, and much like our other historic structures, are occasionally opened throughout the year for folks to go through them and see these historic structures. I'm very pleased to tell you, though, that the tenant house behind me here is going to be opened hopefully this fall as a new museum space on the battlefield, talking about the civilian stories of the people on Monocacy National Battlefield, specifically the various farms, the enslaved population, and even going back to the American Indian history that would have occurred here through the Monocacy River Valley.